Why is this video alarming? It's alarming because it demonstrates how easily people can be duped into believing something simply because they already have preconceived notions and ideas. You see, if you didn't notice, pretty much every country that they've shown there is either a Muslim state-ran country or a predominantly Muslim country or a communist or former communist country. Whether we're talking about China, North Korea, whether we're talking about Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Eritrea, I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, I think it's Eritrea, is way off base. They're like 49% Christian. Each one of those countries, the Bible is not illegal. In each one of those countries, there are churches. In each one of those countries, missionaries go there to a certain extent. The only difference is that in Saudi Arabia and most of the Arab countries that were shown there, which they have laws against proselytizing. You cannot be on the street trying to convert someone, and you cannot purposely try to convert someone. Those are illegal. To try to convert a Muslim into Christianity, that's illegal. Having a Bible is not illegal in Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Iran. They have churches there. So this is bullshit. These are lies that they're telling in order to scare Christians, especially American and European Christians, into thinking that, yes, we must fight against the Islamic Communist Alliance. We got to fight against them. Yes, they are evil, 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 evil. So they make up these types of lies. And even though there is some truth in the idea that the Bible isn't banned, but preaching the Bible to convert people is banned in most of those countries, it's just a big lie mixed in with some truth. And it reminded me of how last night during our live on Facebook and YouTube, and we only go live on Facebook and YouTube, one person had asked me concerning the fact that we were talking about are black people Moors and should black people be Islamic. They mentioned how if telling lies bring about a good result or helps people out, should the lie then be tolerated? So let me tell you a story just to give you context. So last night on the live, we told the entire story about how Islam grew, how Islam conquered North Africa, how the Muslims then conquered the Berbers and the Mauritanians, and then invaded Spain and conquered Spain. Now, after they conquered Spain and ruled them for 700 years, they were then exiled out of Spain and then completely exiled in 1492 and then completely exiled in 1609. Now, according to this gentleman, Noble Drew Ali, birth name is Thomas Drew, in 1886. But in 1926, he set up the Moorish Temple number 9 in Chicago. And during that time frame in Chicago, there was a huge migration of black people leaving Mississippi and Alabama and relocating to Chicago. This is known as the Great Mississippi Migration. When those people got there, one of the things that they encountered was Noble Drew Ali teaching Moorish science. And in his teachings of Moorish science, he taught that black people once ruled Europe, and that these black people brought them education and brought them hygiene and all these other things. And he said that the monarchy was living in caves and hovels and thatch roof huts and sleeping with their animals. And then he said that when they were expelled out of Spain, that they were some sailed on ships and came to the Caribbean, while others went into West Africa. And then when the transatlantic slave trade happened, those black slaves were brought to the Americas. And he encouraged people to become upstanding citizens, to practice Islam, to have decency about yourself, to treat one another with kindness and treat all people with kindness and love, and that we should build communities and support each other. Noble things that any community leader should be teaching. But he added this racial and religious aspect to it in order to solidify the connection between the people, instead of just building great men and women. So they asked the question, if it benefited so many people, because he grew up to over 35,000 people following him, if it benefited so many people and benefited the community, then what harm is a little lie? Because the lie is this, that the Muslim caliphates never considered themselves Moors. Moors was actually a term used by the European Christians as a slang, as a negative comment towards them, kind of like the N word. This meant a person who practiced Islam. It had nothing to do with skin colors, and it actually derived from the uh, Latin term Muru, which is what the Romans called the people of Mauritania. They called them Morus, and it became Moors. Now, there is a word in Greek as Moro, which does mean black, but Muru just meant people from Mauritania. Yes, they were brown skinned people, but they were not black sub-Saharan Africans. Now, were there black sub-Saharan Africans that were part of this Arab empire? Yes, because they were brought over through the trans-Sahara slave trade, forced to be slaves. Those and others gained their freedom and would rise and become military leaders, but most of them just remained as military soldiers. Were they present in Spain? Yes. Were they the rulers of Spain? No. When you go to Spain and you see and I want you guys to look it up. I'm not even going to show you. You have to be on the live for me to show it to you. I want you to look it up for yourself. Look at the halls of kings in Spain, Moors halls of kings or Muslim halls of kings in Spain, and you will see that the mosaics there, they're all Arab. They're not this guy right here. This is a creation of the Moorish science in order to convince people that they were the kings and rulers of Spain. And were they living in hovels? No. Now, yes, the poor people were living in the type of situation that was described by Noble Drew Ali, but the elites, the middle class, the monarchy, if they built these types of churches, and this was built in the 1600s, and the Moors never came into, the Muslims never came into Spain until 711 by Tariq, then, and look up Tariq, and you'll see that Tariq, the original name of Rock of Gibraltar, was Jabal Tariq, and he was very much a Arab who also had a black slave. But if they were building these because they once were conquered by the Romans, all of Spain was once ruled by Rome, and we know Roman concrete built palaces, built roads, built cathedrals. These are still buildings that you can see in Spain to this day. You can see these, and they were built during the time frame of Rome. They're like over 1,000, over 1,500 years old. And he suggested that they were living in caves. But of course, in 1926, who would challenge that? Who would challenge? No, the lies that you tell are not beneficial to the helping of people and should not be satiated, should not be accepted just because people benefit from your entirety of your organization. Tell me the ugly truth before you tell me your pretty little lie, because I rather deal with truth than to deal with a lie. Noble Drew Ali inspired and helped a lot of black people. He also inspired David Farrar, who would become Wallace Farrar, who becomes the beginner, the guy who started the um, Nation of Islam. And this was indicated by Louis Farrakhan in 2018 that the Moorish temples did inspire the Nation of Islam. And they've done a lot of great things, but the lies never help. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.